Hello, we're back again with another video. Today we're finishing off the final installment of the in-depth reviews of the Court of Thorn and Roses series. Can you believe it? We've absolutely smashed through it. Now obviously there will be future ones when new books come out, but for now these are all the books that are out, and let's get on with some thoughts. If you're new here, I'm Alice. I waffle about books. Sometimes I do reviews, sometimes I do vlogs, sometimes I just make random videos, normally talking about reading. So if you enjoy that, or you just want someone to listen to in the background, you know, consider subscribing. Go on, you know you want to. Enough plugging, let's go. Move on with the video. So the final book in this series is, I keep saying the final book, it's not the final book. The final book that is released so far in this series is called A Court of Silver Flames. Now I will say, disclaimer, if you have not read this, there will be spoilers. If you intend to read it, pause this video, go read it, come back. Have you come back? Perfect. Gosh, watching you. If you have no intention of reading it, you want to know someone's thoughts on it, or you're interested in it but you're never going to have time to read it, then keep watching. Why not? And if you have read this, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and we can, you know, have a little compare. Why not, eh? Why not? As always, please read the trigger warnings before reading these books, because, you know, we care about mental, physical, emotional, all that jazz welfare here on this channel, so make sure you read. Now I will say, I have to just prepare you that my thoughts on this book were slightly skewed in a more negative light, and this is because I thought it was the final book. So I thought this was the final book of the series. Pages were running out. There was not enough time to explain everything going on. I was like, she's not gonna do this to me. SJM is not gonna do this to me. She's not gonna be like, have this amazing series you love, but I'm not gonna answer any of your questions. I was like, too stressed. So then when I got to the end, I did a little bit of research because, again, whilst I was reading it, I didn't want to do any research for fear of spoilers. Gosh, what a society we live in nowadays. But I didn't want to research anywhere, so I was literally like, thank goodness when I found out there's going to be a new book. I mean, granted, kind of sad I have to wait for it, but you know, good things come to those who wait, so let's do it. At least I didn't have to wait for all the other books. I gave this book an 8 out of 10, which is actually the same rating as the first book, which very rogue for me, but I definitely think there was a few things that I didn't like as much in this book, but maybe it will be something I come to love more in the future, especially when I'm kind of rereading that one again to get ready for the new book coming out. So, you know, stay tuned, things can change, it doesn't have to be set in stone. It's how you feel about a book at the time. So this would be 4 stars. I gave it 4 on the spiceometer. This one was pretty spicy, crazy. So this book is actually more focused around Nesta and Cassian's stories rather than the usual Feyre and Rhys. So this was quite nice to see different perspectives throughout the book, and also to see a different relationship develop. Their one is a lot more tumultuous, back and forth, very will they, won't they, enemies to lovers vibes. So I feel like it had some of the similarities of the beginnings of Feyre and Rhys's relationship, but way more intense. So I definitely did enjoy that aspect of it. If asked would I recommend this book, I said yes, 100%, but please know that there is another book coming, because it's so much more enjoyable when you know that's happening. I wouldn't have been stressed as I was coming towards the end of this book, whereas it was very unpleasant, the feeling I had whilst reading this book. I was not prepared. I was, sorry, just hit you. I was ready to be like, this mass has destroyed me, I can't believe it, kind of thing. I just thought, nah, there's no way there can be all these unanswered questions. And thank goodness, as I said before, there's another book coming. I really enjoyed Cassian as the character anyway, so I'm really glad he kind of got to have his moment come through, you know, shine, ooh girly shining. He got some insecurities, so, you know. One thing I did find really funny in this book is the sudden swearing. I just think it's really jokes, come out of nowhere, and all these little profanities kept slipping out, and I just thought that's hilarious. It really made me giggle. I did think it had some really good plot twist moments. It kept mentioning the whole blood right thing, and I was like, where's this going? Why do you keep mentioning it? And then boom, they put the 3 girls in there. That was pretty wild. I did enjoy that. So if you haven't read it, try and figure out what I'm talking about. Just kidding. I did write here as I was reading, I said there's 16 chapters remaining and the main plot hasn't even really begun. And this is a typical SJM. I told you this. She builds up and she builds up and the build up is great and then the action happens in such a small amount of time. But the problem was there's also so many other things that needed to happen. So I was like, how is she even going to do that? But turns out she didn't, because there's going to be another book. So we forgive her for that. We forgive her for that. My initial thoughts were that I was a little bit disappointed by the book. I did enjoy the majority of it, but there were just a few things in there that I just thought, oh, did you have to? You know, did you have to go there? This is really weird, but it kind of annoys me in a book when they have like a, I don't know, like something that's supposed to be shocking, and it is shocking, but then also at the same time you kind of come out of it at the end and you're like, for what? I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I don't know, I just had a lot of thoughts that were unanswered when reading this book. I did really like that we got to explore the characters more. I think this was probably my favourite part of this whole book, getting in depth a bit more about some of their upbringings and also, you know, kind of how they are now after the war too. I feel like that was quite interesting to see. I mean, the rating was majorly affected by the fact that I thought this was the final book, but even on reflection, there were still some things I think just could have been done a little bit better. So I stand by my rating for now. I mean, it's still very high compared to some of the other books I've read, but I don't think I can get it quite up there just yet, you know? As I said before, SJM, queen of build-up. She gets the build-up not only in the action, also in the romance as well. And you know, we do love a little bit of a slow burn on this channel. Not too much, not to the point where you're like, oh, come on now, you know, not that far, but we like a little bit of a challenge, you know? Nothing needs to be super easy. I like it when the characters have their own thoughts and are a bit more headstrong, you know? The main action was over really quickly, as I mentioned before. I think the only time this doesn't happen is in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Like, it is over, but because there's so much action going on, it actually lasts a bit longer, and I think definitely that's why that's my favorite book. Although it's probably the meatiest and probably the hardest to get into at first, I think it has the best overall ending, overall story, overall plot. So I really enjoy that one the most. So I think comparing to that one, this one was over particularly quickly. Just the problem is that sometimes it makes you feel, and I think this was probably a negative not just of this book but kind of the whole series, is I just sometimes feel like when the action is over so quickly, even though you love the build up, you're there for the ride and you're really enjoying it, it just kind of makes you go, oh, you know, I feel like sometimes she doesn't do this. Sometimes there are more difficulties in there and you do kind of carry it on, but sometimes you just think, this sounds really harsh and please don't hate me, but this is the only way I can think to describe it. It just feels like you go, oh, and I read that for what? Or that was a bit of a waste of time. And even though I wouldn't say the whole book was a waste of time, it just feels like you spent a lot of time on a build up for something that's over so quickly. Whereas I feel like that's the fun part. You have the whole time building up, getting excited for this big climax, and I just think it does put a lot of pressure on the climax being very loved by the reader, but I think you do need to extend it for a reasonable amount of time. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book where the action's over so quickly. So I don't know, maybe we'll see how it progresses. But I mean, I still love the series, still rated all the books 8 and above out of 10, which I don't think I've ever done for an entire series. So there's always probably one that I don't like, or the whole series in general is just a bit lower. So, you know, snaps and claps for Miss SJM. I just wish she would make the action a teeny bit longer. Let me know if you agree in the comments below. Also, let me know if you disagree. That's okay. We're open to everyone's book opinions here. So, you know, let me know what you think. I mean, don't be mean, but you know, if you don't agree and you believe that you really like the action, let me know. I would love to hear your opinions. So I feel like the whole pregnancy thing and Nesta losing her powers afterwards, I feel like, again, I always bring this up, but it's part of the reason I didn't like Icebreaker so much. It gives me a more cringe vibe and more Wattpad vibe, and I just feel like, again, it's a little bit of a convenience plot. I really thought Nesta's character could do a lot more. I feel like she could be really key, and I get that now it's kind of paving the way for Elaine's story, and I really do want to know more about Elaine. I want to know about Lucian's story. I feel like we really didn't get a lot of that. I want to know about Vassar and the, what's his name? I forgot his name. One that guards the lake. the immortal that guards the lake. I want to know more about him. You know, there's lots of things I want to get into and I'm excited to learn more about them. But I don't know, I just feel like she could have had a bit more. And I feel like it kind of went from, you know, when they make the characters are really hard and tough, you know, the training, they've been through whatever, and then they just become soft as shit. Sorry for a lack of better expression. I don't know, I just felt like that kind of happened. Obviously, I'm glad that Feyre didn't die. Of course I'm glad. I wasn't in love with it. I'm just gonna say that. I wasn't in love with it. It was all very quick. It wasn't my favourite. To be honest, out of everything, I think the one thing I didn't like the most is I feel like Rhys became a bit wet wipey in this. He was on the cusp in A Court of Frost and Starlight, I'll be honest. He was on the cusp. But in A Court of Silver Flames, he was next level wet wipe. And I get it, I get what the plot's supposed to be about, but bloody hell. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in all books, is when they take a really great character and then they make him wet wipey. So I hope to goodness he's back and better than ever in the next book, because otherwise I will not be happy bean, alright? Hopefully Rhys will be back and better than ever and I'll be obsessed again, so I definitely am looking forward to the next installment, the next development. That's what I love the most about these books. I love the development, I love the build up, and that's why I said I just feel like sometimes I need the action to be a little bit longer because I'm so invested. I'm so here for it. Reading, I can't stop, I can't put it down. It's so engaging and so great, and I just feel like I need a little bit more from the actual outcome. But I mean, other than that, you know, no, I'm joking. I really have enjoyed reading this series of books. I haven't read a series that I've loved this much in a very long time. I'm very thankful and grateful to have read it and be in the position to read it. I hope you enjoyed this series so far. Don't worry, it's not over forever. We'll be back. I've spoken with a few of my friends and sometimes they want to read these books but they don't really know if they're exactly their style, but they want to know what they're about. So when people talk about them, they said maybe you could do some kind of explanation video where you kind of go over the key points. So if someone were to bring it up, you'd be able to have a conversation about it. I mean, I've done this lots in my life because I am scared of pretty much everything when it comes to scary movies, scary books. So my friends will often explain basic plot points to me of horror films, or I'll look them up on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, or the plot summary kind of thing. So I know what people are talking about without having to actually go through watching it, because I think that'd be pretty traumatic for me. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, because I'd be happy to do that as well. Let the A Court of Thorn and Roses series continue on. Should I read Throne of Glass? Question of the day. I feel like it's quite the commitment, isn't it? I really would like to, but it's quite intimidating. I'm definitely going to explore her universe more, so that's exciting. But anyway, I'll stop waffling on because I have been going forever. You can tell I like talking about this series. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Have you subscribed? I thought so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And as always, until tomorrow, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I kind of want to learn that dance. What do you think? What do you think? What is that? Bye, beach.